And are you ready? Okay. All right. It is January 26th, 2026. The time is 5:03, and this is a meeting of the Housing Authority. I'll call this meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Trustee Halverson? Here. Trustee Wakefield? Trustee Schnitker?
Here.
Trustee Gardner?
Here.
Trustee George is absent for the moment, so is Mayor Pro Tem Harper. Mayor Cranker.
Great, thank you. We'll now open up for public comment. If you'd like to make a public comment, you're welcome to do so. If you're here for a later on presentation, then we'll invite you to speak then. If you'd like to make a public comment, you're welcome to come to the podium. If you're online and you'd like to make a public comment, you can click the raise hand button and we'll promote you to panelist. And you will have 3 minutes. And I forgot my timer. So you might have my timer over there. All right, pause, please. I was like, oh, you're not gonna pass the one. Like hot potato. Catchphrase. We're gonna play catchphrase. Okay, if you're in person, and you'd like to make a public comment, please step to the podium. All right, if you're online and you'd like to make a public comment, please click the raise hand button. All right, seeing none, we'll close public comment and we'll move on to agenda item 3, approval of the December 1st, 2025 meeting minutes. Anything the board would like to ask a question about, or any edits or anything from staff? I'll make a motion to approve the meeting minutes.
Second.
Great, roll call, please.
Trustee Halverson?
Yes.
Trustee Wakefield?
Yes.
Trustee Schnitker?
Yes.
Trustee Gardner?
Yes.
Mayor Cranker.
Yes. Great. Moving on to agenda item 4, this presentation for 1320 Green Street Special Limited Partnership Proposal.
Great. So the Housing Authority has the power under state revised statutes to be a partner in private development opportunities to incentivize affordable housing. And so some of the benefits of this type of partnership is that the Housing Authority can provide a sales and use tax for the duration of construction. In addition, property tax and special assessment exemptions are one of the powers, so long as the Housing Authority is part of that partnership. This is a mechanism that housing authorities across Colorado use to incentivize affordable housing in the private market, and it really can be a beneficial incentive for folks, creating a significant discount in construction materials and potentially property tax. And so the Housing Authority has actually been in a special limited partnership with Anvil Townhomes LLC. Since we control that LLC, it didn't make sense for us to make policy because it was our own entity. But we have been approached by a project in town, hoping to do some revitalization of a property on Green Street, and I'll invite them up to give a presentation about that. But tonight, the purpose is to sort of hear what they're proposing, and then we're not deciding, are we going to do this or not tonight? This will be, is this something that the Housing Authority wants to pursue? If so, the board will give staff direction to draft a policy to help guide these types of proposals and partnerships in the future. Something to consider is that we'll probably have some sort of fee structure included in this policy to cover the legal costs associated with entering into a partnership such as this. And the attorney that we have used for the Anvil Townhomes project wrote an article kind of giving the basic overview. And so I hope you all explored that to learn more about legally how this works. And if we decide to have some sort of policy to guide our special limited partnership engagement, this is where we would determine, how affordable these homes or units need to be in order for us to engage fee structures. So is there anything beyond that sort of legal fee that we want to include for the duration of the project or upfront? And then sort of the duration and exit of our investment in the partnership. And application and evaluation criteria. So do you have any questions before they present, or do you want to have a discussion afterwards?
Question for the board.
Yeah, afterwards is fine with me.
Okay, sounds good. Derek, can you promote Matt Anderson to panelist, please?
So fun to have so many people here.
No, I think this is the record for in-person attendance for housing authority meetings. You should get should give you a little notification. A notification on your screen promoting you to panelist.
Where would you like me?
You can come stand at the podium.
And Derek and Melina, just keep a lookout for Jim in case he jumps on.
Yeah. I'll promote him if he pops on.
Now you should have the ability to share your screen.
Go ahead.
Take your time. Thanks, Melina.
Yeah.
Can you still?
Feel so far away?
I know. I guess we can, well, Tyler will be here, I guess.
He might be here later. Yeah. No, he won't be here tonight.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, so it's just, oh, it's not?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
we can scoot over there.
You can scoot over if you.
Yeah.
I think Jim might just zoom in.
I think Jim's just gonna be on it. So Carl and Dee come to.
We're not squished on.
Hey, my name is Matt Anderson. I work with Colby and Leslie Barrett and our team back here, Jonathan. A lot of other folks in the room today are either direct stakeholders or friends of stakeholders in the project. And I work mainly as a project accountant and CFO for the company. We do a lot of different developments around Delta County. We've got property in Grand Junction. We've also, if you've heard about it, and connected with the Silver Cloud Lodge that recently was approved this year, if I remember correctly. I think I've started with the middle of the presentation. My apologies for that. But I'll just kind of walk through a general overview of the project and what we would like to do with the old livery. And then kind of go through a little bit of the capital stack and what we're hoping to do in terms of grants, credits, and also working with the housing authority to help promote the project. But I'm sure you guys are all familiar with this building, built in the 1890s. It has a lot of history here. We recently purchased the building from, I believe it's the Emmets, if I remember correctly. Our proposal is for a historic mixed-use redevelopment of the property. What that would include is 6 moderate to middle income targeted long-term rental housing units on the back half of the building specifically. And then we'd have a roughly about 1,600 square feet for a kind of commercial storefront cafe. We're also open to other ideas. And we're actually speaking with one of the staff members, I believe, of the Philippines earlier this evening, about potential for like a co-working space. But we're definitely open to community feedback. And there were also, we're hoping to install 3 hotel room units up on the 2nd floor that would directly face Green Street. These would be for the tourists in the summertime, and also help support our project up in the Silver Cloud Lodge. And then we're also hoping to install a large rooftop deck that would be directly a benefit to the community for events, for art galleries for other uses that the community could hopefully join us at the property, so. As far as we understand it, Ann has been gracious enough to share a bunch of information with us regarding the need in the community. Our understanding is that there's essentially a near zero vacancy rate in terms of long-term rental housing in the area. And we'd hopefully like to be able to help out with that. There's also a documented workforce housing shortage in the area. With some of the information that Ann shared with us, there was a 2024 study done for the Anvil development that identified about a need or a housing gap of about 5 or 9 units, excuse me, to achieve a healthy 5% more or less vacancy level in the area. The Livery project would fill 6 of those units, or hopefully 50 to 60% of the current housing need in the area. More details about the project. Those 6 units we're estimating at about a $2.5 million redevelopment budget. That's all inclusive, and this is only the portion that's directly related to the long-term residential portion of the project. That doesn't include any of the additional costs that we're anticipating for the commercial space and the hotel room units. When we're done with the project, some of the capital stack, the state and historic tax credits that we're pursuing to help fund this project would require us to have at least 50% of the building allocated to long-term residential use. And right now, according to the drawings, we were sitting at about a 53% allocation. That's subject to a little bit of change based on the architect's drawings, but it would be at least over 50%. Target is moderate to middle income workforce housing at this point. After our research in the area, what we would like to target is what the market will currently support. And after doing research about what looks like for comparable units that we would be building, we're targeting about 80 to 90% of area median income, or AMI. And so we're hopeful that we can also take advantage of some middle income housing tax credits through the state to help fund that as well. For those credits, they allow us up to 140% of AMI because Silverton would be considered like a mountain town essentially. But we're targeting much lower than that because we just don't think the market will support those kind of rents. And then in terms of residents, they would also have access to use the rooftop decks and lounge area, the cafe, and other amenities in the building. So this is a little bit of our preliminary architectural drawings. On the far left of the screen, you can see labeled 4, that's our commercial space when you first walk into the building. And then the back 2/3 of the building would be allocated to elevators and stairs, as well as three residential units priced accordingly. Second floor, the back half of the building towards the alleyway would be long-term residential as well. And then the front half, directly overlooking Green Street, would be the 3 hotel short-term units. The roof on the far right is essentially what we hope and envision would be kind of a flexible rooftop deck space that would have some amenities for residents, but then also be flexible enough to where we could host events for the community, things like that. So just basic project phases and timeline. We're actually expecting to start demolition tomorrow on a large portion of the building. That portion will take 5 to 6 months starting tomorrow, and then rehab construction anticipated roughly June 2026. And we anticipate that to take roughly 18 months. We could finish a little sooner than that. We've been fairly generous in the rehab budget. But overall, a 24-month construction period. Our architect and general contractor did the Citizen State Bank right across the street from the building. They had a lot of good success with that project, and we're looking forward to utilizing their services to help us with this one as well. So they have a lot of experience in the area. I was very impressed with Brian with 9318. Today's the first time I've been able to meet him in person. And so, but we're looking forward to working with these guys on the project. In terms of economic impact, what we're looking at is hopeful to install at least two full-time annual equivalent jobs, as well as a joint venture with a local entrepreneur. Kim Grant is here today. She will be helping us run the commercial space in the front of the building. Our base case, we're hoping to bring in about $750,000 of gross revenue across the property's operations, with about 110 of that in positive net cash flows over the year. In terms of capital stack, this is where we're hoping to gain a little bit of support from the Housing Authority, but also from the state and federal levels. Total development cost will turn out to be roughly about 6.9 million. And because of the area where Silverton sits, it just sits in a very sweet spot for a lot of both state and federal development incentives and help to be able to fund this project. And so we are targeting the following capital stack: federal and state historic rehabilitation tax credits, state historic fund grants, which are more competitive grant stack, state community revitalization tax credits, middle income housing tax credits, which is a newer program within, I think, the last 2 years, if I remember correctly, that they came out with that program. And then we're also looking at federal new markets tax credits to help with the commercial portion of the project. So there's quite a list of things that we're pursuing to help with this. With that being said, it's very complicated, obviously. If there's other developers or folks that approach the housing board or the community in general, we would love to help them out figuring all this out. We're figuring it out for the first time, but we'd love to help other developers navigate these issues in the future too. So
I'm going to do just a little time check for you, Matt. We are at 5:20. So this is all great. And a reminder that we have till 5:30 for our regular meeting to start. And I know the board would love to ask questions and have as much information. So we also can continue this if we need to. So just want to give you a check-in.
okay, thank you. Well, largely what Ann had talked about earlier in the meeting tonight, in terms of benefits to the project that would result from partnership with the Silverton Housing Authority. Obviously, we want community feedback and transparency in this project. Like, we want to become a part of this community, and that's very, very important to us. Obviously, it unlocks certain tax savings from sales tax and property tax perspective. It also unlocks the opportunity to work with Department of Local Affairs at the state level and would convert what would be low interest loans to state grants, which would help with not incurring debt to the project and interest drag to our operations. Total partnership benefits are estimated about $460,000 to the project, just from a potential partnership with the Housing Authority. So, and obviously anything that we can do to help that capital stack will deepen the affordability and the financial viability of the project. So, this is something I think Ann will go further into, but this would be our proposed structure. Essentially, the owner, developer, Bonanza Boy LLC, would form a joint partnership with the Housing Authority that would own just the residential portion of the building. And that way we can keep everything separate and clean from both a legal and a financial standpoint. So, so at that point, I think that's most of my presentation. I will turn this time back to you guys if you have any questions. So
Thanks. Ann, was there anything you wanted to add there before board discussion or? Great. So I think it'd be great for the board to ask your questions now. And again, what we're really looking for from, I think, Ann's perspective is do we want to give direction to pursue a policy around this type of partnership? This is the first kind of use case per se. So it's really, if the board wants to pursue prioritizing staff time to pursue a policy.
I have a question. Do you need the Silverton Housing Authority before you start moving forward with the project?
Not necessarily, no.
Government's slow and you never know. Yeah, because I was wondering so are the units in the back dependent on this partnership?
No, not.
Okay.
We've planned and hoped for your support, but we can move forward with the project without if needed.
So their affordability could be.
The affordability of the residential units could be affected long-term if we don't get that support, but
Great.
that's the only consideration there. So.
Would you need additional support from the town outside of the tax credits? Like, I'm just thinking of if we need to plan for additional staff cost.
I don't think so. We've got a very, very robust team of both with the architect, but also internally. And with we're working with a couple of consultants out of Denver to help us with the rest of this capital stack. And so I don't foresee any need to add any additional burden on you guys. So.
In your research for the units themselves to get all of kind of these state credits, are there requirements of the building themselves, like to be 1 bedroom or 2 bedroom or have a certain type of kitchen, or is it just sort of whatever the developer decides?
Essentially, it's mostly whatever the developer decides. So essentially, we look at the market and what we're hoping to do is if we go back to our floor plans here, these are essentially like smaller 1 bedroom kind of kitchenettes that would be built. And we're hoping this will be targeted more at the workforce housing, 1 or 2 people. And that's kind of what we designed around. But as far as we're aware, there's no restrictions around what the tax credits will be looking for, if that makes sense.
I think this looks like a wonderful project, especially getting into the market for us as a partnership with long-term rentals rather than just units to buy. So I really appreciate what you're doing. I like it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Matt, can you go back to the slide that showed kind of the cost breakdown with the property tax and the sales tax exemption? With the numbers? Yep. Okay, perfect. So if I read that correctly, the way the town could think of it is we are forgoing around $5,000 a year in property taxes, and we're forgoing $116,000 in sales tax during the construction period, right? So it's kind of, again, I'm married to an economist, so this is how my economist in residence would frame it, is like, this is an opportunity for the town of Silverton to acquire 6 affordable units for $120,000. That could be a way of looking at it, right? Either we're gonna have that money in our revenue, or we're gonna forego that revenue and have this partnership where we acquire. So I think a question for the board would be kind of like, what's that dollar number? How much would you pay for 6 affordable units? And the question I have for you, Anne, is staff capacity, because this seems like a really cool opportunity, proof case, great partners to work with. And we have to be realistic about what we can do.
How do I ask the question of like how much you would need from the town, given that Anne is at capacity and we don't know what the funding looks like for next year for the position?
Short term, this is gonna be like a big service for our attorney. So I will obviously be like representing the housing authority, presenting what the attorney says to you all, vice versa. But the bulk of the work is through the attorney in this initial phase of reviewing and negotiating the partnership terms. Long term, it depends on the board. If we are partnering, I would suggest that we have some sort of requirement that does cap rent rates. And then but it kind of depends on if they get the middle income housing tax credits, because if they get those, then that'll already be controlled
Mhm.
by the Middle Income Housing Authority, and they'll be checking rent rates and income verification. But there would be potential where the housing authority would have to do income verification of and rent rate verification of the units. So short term, not too much work, some for sure. And then long term, it would kind of be income verification is not easy, I will say that. So I think it would be in our best interest to consider some sort of annual fee through the project life to support that. But it totally depends on if the Middle Income Housing Authority is a partner or not. So, yeah.
Helpful. Other questions from board members while we have this full team here? I know you have some, Ron. I know you're thinking of them.
Absorbing all of it.
All right. Carl, questions for this team while we have them there here? Clarification.
The policy is just for this project, would be a right, yeah.
It would be for future partnerships. There's another project in town that's interested in doing veterans housing, and this would be a very similar partnership structure.
Yes.
This could be an incentive for any private landowner or developer in town.
I do think we should have some sort of like minimum standard of like livability. For the like your plans, you know, whatever, fine. I didn't get see the details, but making sure there's, I don't know, there's an actual kitchen and just like a buck. I don't know how to do that, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You never know.
The minimums, again, we have a proof
Yeah.
case in front of us, so we're not exactly saying, oh yeah, we're ready to go forward with this proof case, but we're ready to say, hey, we do think it's important for the Silverton Housing Authority to have a policy to pursue partnerships like this.
Mhm.
The question to the board is, do we want to give that staff direction?
I would like to.
Yeah.
If we start with this partnership, then we set precedence to be a partnership with anyone that comes forward to us with.
I think we can always say no.
We have the.
I can always say
Always
no,
say- we can always say no.
but it would give us a policy and a structure to evaluate things. And part of the application would be an upfront fee to cover the attorney costs of like, is this a viable partnership? What are the risks? And if the board doesn't like it, we can always pull out, but this would be like setting a policy to navigate instances like this where we have a developer who's interested in this tax benefit that we could offer. But at the end of the day, like, it's totally up to the housing authority who we want to partner with and how.
No, nobody could ever force us to enter into a partnership agreement that we didn't want to enter into.
Well, I think it's they'll set minimum standards.
Yeah.
I have a clarifying point. I was thinking about how to frame this, like about the sales and use tax exemption. We're seeing a proposed like $116,000 in sales tax savings, but that might not necessarily just be Silverton, right? That they would be exempt from sales tax
Yeah.
anywhere in the state. So if you're purchasing materials
Exactly.
elsewhere,
It's not
they're not necessarily seeing that entire amount.
Right, it's not necessarily $120,000 out of our revenue line. item.
We'd hope that some portion would be because we want to support our local businesses.
Means it's even a better deal.
Yeah.
No, that's a great clarifying point. Carl, thanks for that. I think you guys know, I am always supportive in ways we can get the private market to build the kinds of things the town wants. So I love having a policy like this, as long as we think from a legal and staff capacity perspective, we can make it happen.
Yeah, I would.
But I get super excited about it.
I mean, like, we're seeing it more and more. Rentals are becoming more and more expensive in town, especially for our workforce, so I'm always excited to hear long-term rentals.
When you increase supply,
Prices.
prices go down. So, and like, it is so hard to develop rentals,
Yeah.
small scale rentals. And so,
I mean, to have a partner that comes to us and says, we have project management capacity, we have budget capacity, we have this is what you could do for us. I think that's really exciting. So I applaud your partnership here. Certainly there's a lot of things to work out, but I think I'm hearing general sentiment to say, yeah, let's draft a policy and then work out the details. And did we ever, is Jim with us?
Jim is here.
Oh, Mr. Cummings, okay. And then, so Anne, do I hear you saying that you think that there is capacity between the attorney and you to work on a policy?
I do.
Thanks.
Yeah, I would love to.
Okay, does that help? Any more? We've got all these great people here. It's exciting. Well, go enjoy the rest of your evening. We'll be here a while. Thank you. Thank you for coming.
Very much. Thank you.
Partnership. We really appreciate. Okay, we have just a couple more minutes. So agenda item 5, director's report.
I don't really have much to go over here, just because we're short on time. What I will say is that tomorrow they're setting the second
Hang on just a second. I can't hear you with the
radiator. There's a lot going on.
radiator.
Tomorrow they are setting the next fourplex in Anvil with the cranes, and then on Thursday they'll set the single family. So that'll be wrapped up this week. I did want to.
Boo.
Yeah. I did want to check in with you all on a couple of things. Historically, I've just kind of tacked on housing authority meetings to town board meeting nights. But I wanted to get your input. Do you prefer, and this is a short meeting, but sometimes we will have to do an hour. Do you prefer those hour-long meetings to be on their own Monday? Or are you okay with tacking them on to a regular meeting?
I prefer to tack them on. So regular.
Is there anybody that schedule doesn't work for? Because sometimes that means starting at 5.
As long as I get heads up, it'll be fine.
Yeah. Okay.
And do you feel like you can get the time you need? Is there ever a time when you're like, oh, I really needed 2 hours and none of us can meet starting at 3:30 or something?
No, there have been times where we've had long meetings, and I think when that comes up, I'll just touch base with you all.
Yeah, and we'll schedule it separately.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I will schedule a longer, probably an hour meeting in February to do the 26th work plan.
Great.
I just wanted to give you a heads up. Questions on?
So much going on. I would love, as we get the new town administrator onboarded and whatnot, and maybe as we talk about the work plan, I'd love an opportunity to do a review for you and have a discussion. I think that's only fair. So that's important to me that I put out to the board is Anne has not had a performance review. We've not formally looked at the various things that you've worked on. And again, like the reporting structure is goofy because like you report to the board, but then you report like, you're managed differently as well. So maybe we could all have a conversation about how that could work best for you and the board. Yeah. And a lot of stuff on here. So
yeah. Clayton is online if we want to ask.
Okay, Clayton, a question I had and for the board as well. So at the end of the regular agenda, we had a request to enter executive session for the Silverton Housing Authority to talk about purchase of property. My procedural question is, can we have that executive session when we're seated as the Board of Trustees, or can we only have that executive session when we're seated as the housing?
Is it for the housing authority?
It is for the Housing Authority.
Board?
Right, and yeah.
I mean, I think you can do either. You have to recognize or open back up the hearing, like the agenda item as the housing authority though.
Okay,
Because
so if we
otherwise it
wanted,
hasn't been properly noticed.
if we wanted, I mean, we noticed it, I just want to make sure we're crossing our Ts and dotting our Is with executive sessions. So we noticed it as part of the regular meeting agenda. So is it best practice for us to have it at a future housing authority meeting? Or can we have it at the end of the regular Board of Trustees meeting and just call to order a new housing authority meeting?
Yeah, I mean, it's the same body. So if you noticed it in the regular meeting, I had a different understanding of the process. So you're fine to do it the way that you're asking, Madam Mayor.
Okay, so we can have it at the end of the regular meeting.
Right.
and I'll check in with you again on this. Okay, great, thank you. So we don't have to try to tack it on here. Thanks, Anne. Any other questions, comments for the Housing Authority? Good of the order? Okay, the time is 5:37 and I will adjourn the Housing Authority meeting. And we will reconvene in just a moment for the regular meeting.
Thanks, Sam.
Don't just mute us.
And, yeah. Where are you going? Okay. All right, for those who wish, we'll do the pledge of allegiance.
United States of America. Republic for which it stands, indivisible, with justice.
Great. All right, the time is 5:40. The date is January 26, 2026, and I'll call this regular meeting of the Board of Trustees to order. Call please.
Trustee Halverson?
Here.
Trustee Wakefield? Trustee Schittker?
Here.
Trustee Gardner?
Here.
Member Tim Harper?
Here.
Mayor Cranker?
Great. Do we have any staff or board revisions to the agenda? I do have a board revision to the agenda. I would like to suggest, Melina and I didn't get a chance to talk about the agenda before it went out, and so I'd like a chance to strike 8A, the FPR manager position from the agenda, because I think it's a little premature for us to talk about it 2 weeks before the town administrator.
Right.
So I would
Agree.
recommend to the board and to staff, and I've chatted with Steve about this, so that would be my suggestion. Is there any? Good idea.
Yep.
Okay, so we will remove 8A from today's meeting, and I'm certainly open to having that discussion. I just like to do it on board, kind of has a chance to get a lay of the.
We could even have a little preliminary session at the finance, if you'd like, just so that we can all give you a little bit of background.
That'd be fine. Great. Okay, any other board or staff revisions to the agenda? Okay, we already discussed the executive session. All right, moving on to public comment. If you're in person and you'd like to make a public comment, you'll have 3 minutes. You can come up to the podium. If you're online and you like to make a public comment, please click the raise hand button and we'll promote you to panelist, and you'll also have 3 minutes. Do we have any in-person public comment? Okay, we don't have any in-person public comment. Again, if you're online, please click the raise hand button and we'll promote you to panelist. Oh, and I'm gonna also note I have a suggestion for the agenda. I know it's a little out of order, but that we move public comment item 13 before our executive session, because otherwise there's no. Yeah, everybody will be gone from the executive session. So just a note for the record to move agenda item 13 to be after open discussion, future agenda items.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't bring that up sooner. Is there any opposition to that? Okay, any online comment? Okay, being none, we'll close public comment and we'll move on to the consent agenda. It's a little rowdy and sorry, here's. In the consent agenda, you'll notice that we have accounts payable and November financials, and then we also have a letter from San Juan Development Association. So Sarah is here for any questions on that. And then a couple events that we're crossing our fingers for snow for. It's just gonna snow after we lay the houses.
That's what I said. Like this happened last year. We were at that ski drawing then. So
Ridgeway got snow right before.
A little worse.
Yeah, okay.
I did want to note, just for the ski joring special event notice, Sheriff Conrad did have a couple of notes very similar to last year on the horse trailer parking, that he has some specific requests on when those will be marked in the street if we are able to
Perfect.
to have ski touring. You know, fingers crossed. I know that John might have a couple of suggestions as far as snow. Oh, if you would like to share.
Sure.
And that will, we can continue to discuss that in a with the ski touring board too, but I know that you have some suggestions, so.
So Friday, Weber from Ridgeway reached out to me.
Correct.
And he's like, Marmio told me to call you. We got to get this figured out. So I actually spent quite a bit of time. It was a great conversation. One of the things that come up, and I just caught it, and so I made him backtrack. We do have water rights that are out of the Animas, and it is right next to the bridge going over to Kendall. So there is a option for pump it out of the Animas, and Steve's already done the calculation, and we wouldn't even get close to what our water right is as far as making snow. He would donate a week's worth of his time to run the equipment.
Oh, wow.
So I told him I would I'm throwing it out there to everybody, just to think about. We could have further discussions later on or whenever. He would still have to get the 2 blowers, 2 pumps, and the trailer working through Telluride. And that would be not set in stone, but he figured about $4,000. So that's another thing that you guys got to think about. So that's option 1. Option 2, I did take a quick run to Gladstone today, and there is enough snow, I would just have to truck it. And
Yeah, to do that. Did you like that one?
We give them, no tip fee.
Give your tipsy if you can truck our snow.
oh, we want to charge him.
Sorry, I'm feeling today.
Yeah, sorry.
Bill.
So that is a possibility. I can make it happen. I've already kind of mentioned something to the county because they owe me a little bit. And so they would donate a cat and probably a truck and a driver for a day. So don't know how many loads I could get a day. I could throw a guess, but it would take me a good week to transport it in. But there is that option also. Just kind of let everybody think about it for direction.
Well, and your crew, if we have to truck snow, it means there's no snow to plow. So let's plow some snow.
The snow that we took off of Green Street this morning, over at Kendall Mountain for a function this week. So we're trying our darndest to make all this work. So I just kind of wanted to throw it out there to everybody about talking to Richard Weber and trying to make this an event. So.
Thanks, John.
So we're talking about it in the consent agenda, so we're not necessarily giving staff direction on that, but maybe this is worth bringing up under the discussion items to kind of get the board's temperature on kind of how much staff time and or cash we would be interested in discussing in relation to making ski touring happen. So that'd be my suggestion to the board is let's talk about this with that information from John under discussion items. Is that okay?
I think other conversations need to happen first before we have a discussion out in the open here.
Yeah,
Mainly probably with the folks of ski touring.
Sure, great.
I agree.
Yeah.
I think that we should do that first.
Well, the board,
Thank you.
there's enough time about our support and what,
That's a thing.
or come back to us. What'd you say?
Is there enough time to do that? Because we don't meet until right before, right?
There's plenty of time.
Okay.
Okay, great. Okay, thanks. Thanks, John.
Thanks, John.
Other questions on the consent agenda? Okay, I'd entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Seconded by Jim. Roll call, please.
Trustee Harrison?
Yes.
Trustee Wakefield? Stucker? Trustee Gardner? Yes. Mayor Pro Tem Harper?
Yes.
Mayor Klinker?
Yes. Thank you. Moving on to agenda item 5, staff reports.
did include election materials in there as my staff report. We currently have 5 petitions in circulation. We have Lindsay, Chris Brosh, Wade Christensen, Dr. Brown, and Angelo. I'm sorry, I don't know Angelo's last name. Those are all out. I will be here in the office until legally, I think I'm only allowed to be here until 5 to take petitions, but I'll probably hang out a couple minutes extra just in case. So please bring me your petitions by tomorrow. 5 p.m.
Great, thank you. Thanks to community members for stepping up. Lucy, did you have a question about staff reports?
Nope, she didn't.
I just wanted to make a note that last week, or not last week, our last agenda packet was missing a public comment received based on the land use code request. And that comment was added to last week's packet to ensure that it's on public record, as well as this week's, just to bring it to everyone's attention. Just wanted to just note that.
Thanks for that. Oh, I just remembered I had a note for the consent agenda. I don't think it really matters, but in case anybody pulls it up, the liquor license had Corey's birth date is 2019 and not probably 1991, I assume. So just for the record, that the liquor license says 2019. And I was like, make sure we're not giving out liquor licenses to people born in 2019. So noted for the record. Sorry, I meant to bring that up in the consent agenda, and I got so captivated by the ski touring discussion. Other questions, comments on staff report? Nope. Okay. And noted for the record, Melina has the dates in there for the kind of how the election stuff will proceed. So yeah. Questions? Okay. Moving on to agenda item 6, presentations and proclamations. This is for the Brownfields update on the Lackawanna Mill structural assessment. And I will pass it to you, Lucy, and our team at Ramble.
Thank you. Yeah, if we could promote David Hines and Kit Carson as panelists. We have Ramble on tonight to share an update on our Brownfields project. Over the summer, we had a structural assessment done on the Lackawanna Mill site, which is one of the town's priority sites. So we're here tonight to present that information, its findings and recommendations for next steps. And you will also, trustees, you'll also find a letter in front of you from the San Juan Historical Society making recommendations to address the structural needs in order to preserve the building. So with that, I'll hand it over to Kit and David. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Thank you, Lucy. I'll jump into things. Previously, I joined you guys talking about the phase 1, phase 2 findings for the Lackawanna Mill, the area around there. And today we'll be talking a little bit more about the structural assessment that was performed last year. So before jumping in, just a quick background. There's a structure completed in the late 20s. Again, it's on a beautiful parcel that's on a steep slope overlooking the town and the Animas River. Previously, it processed ore from the Lackawanna mine that was located directly uphill. That ore that was processed was connected via 1,500-foot aerial tram line and flume pipe for ore transportation. Extracted a number of different minerals such as gold, silver, copper, lead, zinc, and later tungsten. And today is used for recreation. A reminder on the phase 1, phase 2 results. The phase 1 recognized that the historic milling operations was considered a REC, or a recognized environmental condition. And so a phase 2 was then completed. The phase 2 focused on superficial and subsurface soil sampling. We did not complete any groundwater sampling as part of that effort. We kept it more shallow. So we identified 3 metals above that exceeded commercial or site-specific standards. And those are arsenic, cadmium, and lead. Superficial soils were primarily lead and arsenic. again, around the mill building. We also took samples along access roads and an open field adjacent to the mill, but those came back generally clean, below these kind of commercial standards. When you look at subsurface soils, again, it's around the mill building itself or the mill structure itself. And there were some yellow stained soils, likely maybe some sort of sulfate mineralogy going on this near side of the structure, and we saw some significant impacts there for arsenic, cadmium, and lead. Again, that was adjacent to the roadway, so perhaps where some material was being exported or processed just outside the building. The phase 2 also included an asbestos survey. We sampled both interior and exterior mill building materials, and all the samples came back negative for asbestos containing material or potentially asbestos containing material. So we got a good clean bill of health for those results. Looking at sort of the general redevelopment process, this phased approach we've kind of taken to this project. Again, in 2024, we completed the phase 1 and phase 2, as well as the asbestos survey. And the next item on the agenda was looking at the structural stability of the building through a structural survey. That was completed by JVA, their structural engineer, and the report was delivered in the fall of last year, and we've since communicated the results to the town, and this is an opportunity now to kind of flush those out a little bit further. So any future development for this property will need to consider the results of both phases or all the phases of this project. One, we'll take a look at that structural assessment, but also the shallow soil across the site, particularly for lead. That was considered, we took some samples for disposal purposes, and we found out the lead was considered hazardous, and so something that we'll have to consider when we think about remediation strategies moving forward, whether that's some sort of capping or excavation or removal processes or a combination of both. But holding that to the side for now, let's take a look at the structural assessment. So looking at, again, kind of laid the groundwork and the background, but the Lackawanna mill processed ore coming from the Lackawanna mine that was uphill, and when the ore came to the mill, it would get transported up this ore conveyor belt. It would go to the top of the mill structure here, and it would then move into either this flat ore bin or this sloped ore bin. And this just allowed there to be sort of a temporary staging or holding area for the ore before it can move into the ore processing mill house at a consistent rate. There was a couple floors within this mill processing house before. Once that processing was completed, you had any excess material that would go out the tailings disposal chutes at the very end. And so it's trying to use gravity to assist it the entire way down. Looking at just a general description, we kind of talked about the process, but primarily the structure is heavy timber framing arranged in a consistent structural grid. It's 5-story. The roof, floor, and wall assemblies feature trussed roof framing, plank floor sheeting over joints, and vertical wall sheeting supported by horizontal infill girts. So there's a wood frame sitting on top of sort of a concrete foundation. So there's a couple of retaining walls and stem walls that are substantial and believed to have footings beneath the walls and timbered posts. There's also that ore conveyor structure that was up in front that goes to the very top. That's built by light frame wood with simple roof sheathing and siding, again, feeding both of those ore bins on the south tower. There was a 2-level ore processing mill house that, again, extending downslope to the north, ending at a tailings disposal chute positioned at the bottom of the hillside. So let's look at the general diagnosis that JVA came up with. They identified as part of their scope both immediate and critical action items. Not everything was bad. There was some good news. We'll talk about that first. The ore bins and the ore processing mill house, again, the main structure of the building itself remains largely intact, and most of the framing was preserved as part of the 2016 re-roofing, rebuilding, and shoring efforts. So that effort that was completed back in 2016 ended up having a positive effect on preserving the structure. The main concrete retaining walls and ore bin foundations, they display no apparent signs of distress. So our foundation beneath these core parts of the structure are looking good. Now let's move into the parts that there are some concerns that JVA noted. And primarily this is going to deal with being on this downslope. This again, it's beautiful. You get to overlook both the Animus and the town, but there's some issues that come with this. And this is where you have loss of slope stability, which have compromised this north wall. The east and west hillsides is damaging the retaining walls and accelerating their degradation. The ore conveyor up in front of the building, and then the tailing chute disposal at the back of the building, these were not included in the 2016 re-roof project, and both are in poor condition with unsupported or decayed column bases and structural components that will require immediate attention. And again, part of this is when we have a lot of snow, maybe not this year, but other years, the snow will, weigh down the roofing and either get into the structure itself and begin to decay the columns and wood framings. And so something to consider as we kind of talk about next steps. But here we're going to just look at a number of photos that kind of show some of the concerns that JVA noted. These three frames here in the corner, you see this is a unsupported building quarter without bearing underpin. And if you look inside that building, you can see it's completely open. It's the air, you can see out of it. So this is one of the concerns that was noted. And this is, again, based off slope stability. As the slope continues to move, it's kind of exposing some of these corners of the building. You can see it up here, up on the upper portion of the hill as well. On one of the hillsides, there's also this crib wall that's progressively failing towards that steep downhill. Again, this is something that would need to be repaired or replaced just to prevent any more slope moving further down. This crib wall, this is another example of that crib wall here. Again, it's progressively falling and removing earthen wall and the building wing wall as well. On the other side of the building, you see that the material, the soil, is building up against the concrete retaining wall. Again, this is causing siding deterioration, but more critically, the inward pressure on the concrete foundation. Looking on that north, again, another thing on the north side of the Lackawanna Mill is the disposal chute, and you can see partial collapse of this corner, uncovered wood sheathing. There's no roofing up here, and if we go to the front side of the building, we have this ore conveyor, and we can see there's visible sagging, collapsed interior. If folks have been up there, you can see it's not in the best condition, and its construction was, again, different from what happened in the interior of the building. It was used lighter timber versus the heavier timber that was inside or for the structure itself. Again, there's some minor interior work as well that has been noted during the structural assessment. So again, lots of observations. Primarily, again, we had really good body. The ore bins and the main structure itself were good, but it's anything sort of related to this north side heading towards the slope where there was concerns that were noted. And so we thought about, there's lots of different things that were identified. How do we approach this? And again, this project already being in a phased approach, we want to break down the structural assessment into next steps that would be in a phased approach again. So going from immediate to the least immediate action items. And so most immediately, we would want to put up some temporary measures to improve safety and integrity of the structure. Part of that just includes signs, just for the building, so folks can, make sure that they're not going inside the building, they're not exploring it, they're not getting on some of these like weaker framed areas. And we also recommend blocking entrances to the main structure and the ore conveyor. And so preventing access to the public, essentially, to this building. That ore conveyor that's up front, JV and us, we discussed that, and we believe that it's really not structurally stable, and really could come down at any point, and it does create a safety hazard to the public. And so we would recommend demoing that along with signage and blocking entrances to the building itself. The next step would be improving slope stability. If this is a project that the town wanted to take on, that's the absolute next step to take. So slope stability and stabilize and rebuild the existing crib wall, underpin the wall foundation at the downhill end of the mill. Additional things would be done on that north side is rebuild the tailing disposal chute, as it may serve as a structural purpose for the rest of the mill structure. And finally, again, we want to address any interior structural issues. There are some noted, not many, but we would want to address those as well. So this phased approach does not include any environmental remediation that would need to be completed. That would, again, have to be something on top of this scope being discussed here. And again, all of this is highly, highly dependent on the future use of the mill building itself. So again, part of next steps, recommendations, if approved, Ramble, again, with input, working with our partner, JVA, we could reach out to qualified subcontractors that work on these type of old historic structures, develop a cost estimate for the phased remedial approach aimed at enhancing the structural and stability of the mill. Again, we want to make sure we're also aligned with the intended future use of this property. Now, this conservation process, this could be funded through the current US EPA multi-purpose brownfields grant that the phase 1, phase 2 were completed under. Although the specific phase remedial approach that we've just covered here, that would not be covered by this grant. So additional funding would need to be sourced for that. But again, if we can acquire some cost estimates, this kind of gives the town some options on how they'd like to move forward. So with that, I'll take any questions.
Thanks, Kit and David. Yeah, so questions for the board on presentation and next steps.
Lucy, does the grant cover the cost estimates?
Sorry. Yes, that's what Kit was just saying, that the grant would cover the process to get the cost estimates.
Sorry, I just must have missed that.
And Lucy, from your perspective, is there a trade-off between going down the road of getting the cost estimates on this piece for Lackawanna versus spending that grant money on something else? Or is this the highest and best use for that?
I mean, I think that we do have more funding available in this grant than we thought we would by this time. So I think that it would be a good use of the grant funding if we wanted to move forward with prioritizing the Lackawanna in addition to the Boxcar apartment site.
Thanks. Do we do we need to move forward with some of the temporary safety and signage recommendations as soon as possible? What's kind of the perspective on that? Would we be getting the cost estimate first, or those are the things that just yeah, we need to move forward with that right away?
I can let Kit answer that one based on the recommendations from JVA, but I do think that the recommendation is to do that work immediately.
Yeah, David, do you want to respond to that?
Yeah, this is David. I can jump in on that. Yeah, they do recommend, I mean, just anybody getting inside that mill is a safety concern. I poked my head in there and JVA was, they were surprised in how good of a shape it is, but just letting anybody in there is a health and safety issue. So that would be good. I don't think that would take too much to try and block that off or at least put signage up. The ore conveyor, though, I think is a concern. Depending on, if somebody tries to crawl up there or something, like JVA said, it's not in great shape. It's sagging. It's just getting worse every year. It's going to come down sooner or later. And so it'd be better if it was brought down in a controlled manner. Get a contractor to bring that down. And that's something you guys could probably, subcontract that yourselves. Or we could get a cost estimate for that as part of this as well. But it might be good to plan for that sooner than later, especially that piece.
Okay, let me put a finer point too on the signage and kind of blocking the structure off from people getting in it. Like, is that something we need staff to do next week in the snow? Or is that something we're saying, hey, we're gonna buy the signs and do that in May?
I don't know how much traffic you get up there this time of year. I'm sure people like to go up there, après ski or snowshoe or whatever, but I don't think it's, probably not something you have to do right away. You could probably plan for that. You probably don't get a lot of traffic up there at this time of year.
Yeah, okay.
Do we have a liability if someone gets hurt up there?
You think?
Yeah,
Mhm.
Clayton, you might know that.
Gets hurt.
Sorry, do we have liability if someone gets hurt up at Lackawanna Mill? Now that we have these recommendations.
No, it's really hard to say. I don't think we are any further exposure than if anybody were to get hurt, it would be the same standards as, if they were to get hurt on any town-owned property.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. So it's not necessarily like we're saying, we're giving staff direction next week, we need to go put some signs up, but we're wrapping this all into the cost estimate for next steps. Other questions from the board?
I would think signs would be pretty cheap insurance. You'll put some signs up.
Yeah. Especially a low winter like this winter. Yeah, okay. So what's the process for getting that to happen, Lucy, and maybe Steve? I don't know, I'm looking at you. What, I'm getting a sense from the board that we'd like to put some signs that gives at least a little bit of direction to not go rummaging around the Lackawanna Mill. How would that work process-wise? How do we make that happen? Or you can get back to us, but that's the sense I'm getting from the board. You'd like to start first there.
Because we can take it out of the grant, right? That's what you're asking? Yeah.
I'll talk to Steve about getting signage up there. That I think is something that we could do administratively. But I guess we're also looking for direction on whether or not you would like cost estimates.
Yeah.
On
Great.
The other work.
Great, science. Okay, board desire to spend the brownfield money. I'm seeing lots of thumbs up.
Just to get the estimates and then we can go
Yes.
from there.
For estimate purposes.
Great. I'm getting consensus for getting moving forward with getting cost estimates.
Yeah.
Okay. That sounds great. We'll start working on it then.
Awesome. Yeah, go ahead, Jim.
No, I was gonna say, and the signage can be both cautionary and information wise. We can provide both on, anyway.
Scan this QR code and tell us how we should use the building. Just kidding.
Well, yeah, I guess that was my other question too, because it sounds like some of the recommendations is to get cost estimates based on what we're envisioning for the building, which I don't think we've really finalized yet, right?
That's right. There has been some visioning done in the past tied to the Kendall ski area master planning process. And those visioning sessions were used to actually create renderings for potential reuse of the building. And that was paid for. That was actually a free service provided by the EPA, not even included in our grant, just because we have the grant. And we have not received direction from the board to present those to the board or to the community. So if that's something that you would like to see, we'd be happy to do that as well.
Well, and my question to David and Kit is, couldn't we still get cost estimates from a general sense? And so the first would be, what is the bare bones to keep this building safe and preserve it historically, as the letter we have from Beveridge of just like, we want to preserve this, but not reuse it. So what's that? That's our baseline, and then go up from there, and then I would hope that we don't have to completely decide on how we want to use the building to get a sense of how much work would be needed to happen to the building to turn it into a place that people could enter safely.
Yeah, you're right. We can request a different range of cost estimates, anything from stabilization to reuse as an art studio or something. So, but yeah, we can definitely, get that direction from JBA or the contractors and come up with those things. We don't have to have that final use at this point.
Okay, great. Is that the desire of the board?
Yeah, I just was when reading that.
So there'll be a cost to us for that.
No, it's already we can build that as part of the brownfields grant. Yeah, yeah. Okay, so I'm hearing that's what we love. And maybe then, Lucy, to answer your question about the renderings and having the more robust community conversation about actual use, it seems like that could be farther down the road after we have this sense of range of estimates.
Great. That sounds awesome. We'll start with the cost estimates and bring those to you all, and then we'll go from there.
Kit and David, thank you guys for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Yeah, this was a great update and really good to see. Okay, any other questions, comment on that item? Okay, moving on to agenda item 7, business items. We have 7A, the SZL services contract. Sizzle, can we say sizzle? Sizzle. And we'll put it to you. Okay, I'll kick it to you, John.
So John Seitz informed us that he is, as of April 1st, not going to be ORC contract operator for the town of Silverton. So yeah, we're moving forward. My recommendation, as it's in the packet, is we do have current staff that can fill that role in different aspects. I would propose doing a stipend for those individuals. And when I talk stipend, I'm used to something like that. So I'll just give you a brief overview of my dealings with stipend. So if you are, and we'll use ORC as the example, if you are ORC for, let's say, the water treatment, then you would get X amount of dollars in a stipend per month. So everybody that's listed on the worksheet here, I've got somebody that will take that water treatment position. Somebody that will take that wastewater treatment, somebody that's going to do the administrative part, because the administrative part dealing with MORs and DMRs is a lot. And that person's going to spend a good amount of time getting those reports filed to stay in compliance with the state. And then the easiest one on the list is me. I'm already certified in distribution and collections, way above what the town would need. So, and I would not receive a stipend for that. I have not determined those stipend amounts, but basically when you get into this position, when your name goes on a sheet of paper that goes to the state of Colorado and CDPHE, it holds some value. And on the other end of that, something goes wrong, that person is the one they contact. So it's, in my mind, it's just right to do some type of stipend. I'm still looking at amounts. I've got lots of figures in my head. The short glance at it, we would probably save quite a bit of money, even doing a stipend compared to what the contract previously was. So I'm open to any questions anybody might have, and will answer best of my ability.
And do you think like the current public works staff has the capacity to take this on as well?
Yes. So that's a really good question, because even though John is still the acting ORC, current staff has been doing it.
Mhm.
So they're doing the boots on the ground stuff. So that's where, when I found this out, this was a good opportunity. And I've talked to all my staff, and they're like, yeah, we'll do it. So it's not, I'm just going to dish it out. I've had those conversations. They know what it entails, and they're comfortable with taking that additional responsibility.
Good.
Mhm.
Good to hear.
And you think we could, in the memo, we talk a little bit about that transition period, so making sure everybody's onboarded and compliant and
Yep.
knows what they need to know.
Yep. And you know, our biggest challenge is still the wastewater treatment plant.
Mhm.
We still haven't received what our limits are. And again, I'm still a firm believer, we're not going to see that till at least second quarter this year. So, if there's, I kind of laughed at the Lackawanna thing just a tad bit, because high lead. Well, where do we live? It's everywhere. And, so those things we can work through until we make decisions down there to get into compliance, because that's the only negative that I've seen with being out of compliance was at the treatment plant for high lead. So.
Other board questions?
I will bring back, probably to Utility Commission, my recommendation for stipend amounts. And I'm still looking at dates in February to get that set up, because there's some other stuff with the meters that I'll share too. So it'll be a kind of a maybe not longer meeting, but a more informative meeting. And I will have those numbers presentation at that time.
Thanks, John. Other questions for John on this? So that doesn't need to go to the finance committee, right? It can just be public utilities? Go to utilities. Yeah. And come to the
Right.
board. I think that's.
I'm happy to come to finance.
Workshop it, right? Don't you think? Yeah, it's fine. I'm just.
And I think the estimates that we talked about are still, it's gonna be a cost savings less than what we're paying John's.
Yeah.
But yeah, the utility committee.
Budget neutral. Yeah.
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 It's not gonna.
No.
The finance committee cares a lot about spending money. We love it when we save money. So John's, we're looking for acknowledgement of the contract ending April 1st, and then staff direction to move forward with operator recruitment, transition planning, and pursuing the stipend. So, yeah. Again, this is direction, so I think noted for the record. Anything else for us, John, on that?
I think that's it. Thank you.
Okay, thanks for that. All right, moving on to agenda item 7B, letter to CDOT regarding the 550 cameras.
Yeah, so this is following our last meeting, Ron, your request that we draft this letter to CDOT and get county support. That's what I've done. Willie was actually a great resource. He gave me the contact information for the CDOT Region 5 Transportation Director, that we're gonna send this letter to, as long as you all are comfortable with that, and then a couple of other higher ups to copy on that correspondence as well. Willie said that he's willing to sign this and that he would take it to their county commissioner meeting later this week and have Austin sign it as well.
Okay.
Good.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Melina, for working on that.
Yep.
Great, okay. All right, we're gonna go, I guess it's now agenda item 8, committee reports. So we have the Planning Commission and Historic Preservation Committee vacancies. Lucy's got that.
Here we go. Okay. Yes, so the Planning Commission and the Historic Preservation Committee both have vacancies right now. The Planning Commission is looking to fill 2 vacancies for members at large. If interested, resumes can be sent to the Secretary, Chris Tukey, and her contact information is included in the packet. They can also be sent to me and I will pass them along to her. The Historic Preservation Committee is also accepting applications to fill 1 vacancy for a year-round resident of the town of Silverton who owns property in the Historic District Overlay. And the Historic District Overlay is Blair Street between 14th and 10th Street and Green Street between 11th and 14th Street. And the reason for the vacancy is we recently had a member resign, and that letter of resignation is included in tonight's packet. And the vacancy and call for applications will be noticed in the newspaper and on our website until the position is filled. So if you guys have any questions, let me know. If not, that's just an announcement to the community that we're looking for committee members.
Thanks, Lucy. If anybody pulled a petition for town board and you get cold feet, the historic committee would love to have you. Or the planning commission. There's all kinds of ways to get involved in this town. So sign up. Questions from the board on those two vacancies? Thank you to our town planning commission members. We really appreciate that time commitment. I know it's a lot.
It's a fun time.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Well, we appreciate that representation again. Takes a lot to run this town, takes a lot of people's volunteer hours. So thanks, Lucy, for that. I'm gonna put you on the spot, Jim. No offense. Committees, I think the only committee that met was the chamber since our last meeting. I am now off of that board as of the last meeting, and Jay Rock is on it from like an events coordination town perspective, but Jim, was there anything you want to share from that meeting?
I have that information.
Okay, we'll wait for just a second. And I know Deanne's been structuring it a little bit different lately with having kind of more presence from organizations and partners in there. So again, I didn't give you a warning that I was gonna put you on the spot, but I know you
Fair
are
enough.
a partner in crime, so.
We got an update on the website. We had a wonderful update from Sarah Moore. Great. Yeah. No, you provided a fantastic update. Ian provided a report. And we went over the special events coming up for this quarter. We discussed a Colorado tour office data and spending report. Newtown map redesign. We discussed the chamber's raffle license and discussed officers. We have a new vice president. Word is the same.
Yeah, it's been some new members.
Yes.
You have Paul Joyce, Megan Brock,
Megan Brosh is our new vice president.
Holly Hubner,
Yep.
Kelly Freeze, and
Yeah.
great. Okay, thanks for letting me put you on the spot.
You did.
Did any other committees meet? Nope, I don't think so, right? Yeah, okay, great. Okay, agenda item 910, open discussion, future agenda items.
Madam Mayor.
Yes, go ahead, Clay.
You're gonna need to discuss the executive sessions that were gonna happen this evening as future agenda items. I looked at the I'm looking at the agenda and the notification, and they were notified under the wrong subcategory.
Okay.
those
So,
two things were they're notified as personnel matters under F, and they should have been notified under B.
the 24-6 says yeah, okay, so they have the wrong CRS. So your recommendation, Clay, is that we push that to a future agenda item for the next meeting?
Unfortunately, yes. I could give a report on Silverton Square public, but that wasn't noticed either.
Yeah, no, I think the best procedural course of action is to recommend that we move those to our next public meeting as an executive session, and we will correct the CRS reference. And Clayton, one question I had for you is, I think we would like to have Nick Pope there. Will you reach out to him and make sure he can attend?
Yes.
Okay, perfect, great.
And I'll write the agenda item and get it to staff for the next one.
Great, thank you. And again, just to clarify, is your recommendation is that it's fine to have the Silverton Housing Authority discussion as we're seated as the Silverton Housing Board, or should we note in the agenda that we're like having a Silverton Housing Authority executive session?
Well, I mean, we need to, the trick with the executive sessions is to notify specifically what it is.
Yeah.
And so as the BOT being synonymous with the SHA, I don't see that part as, that's not the predicate for the executive session. I think the executive session subject matter is the most important thing. So whether you're going to talk about an SHA issue as the board or as SHA, as long as you do it correctly and it's notified or it's noticed in time, then I think you're fine to do it at a BOT meeting.
Okay, great. So we'll look to you to provide the agenda item language for the February, I think it's the 9th meeting, and to reach out to Nick Pope to invite, and we can include the Silverton Housing Authority as part of that. Great. Lucy, you had your hand up?
Yes, I wanted to check in with you all about a date for our dark sky work session. We have not scheduled it yet because we haven't scheduled it for before a meeting, just in case it takes more than half an hour. But wanted to check in with you all and see if you wanted to do it before a meeting and just make sure we limit it to a half an hour, or if you wanted to have more time, if there is a date that's not a regular board meeting that you'd like to meet.
I'm worried if we leave it to half an hour that we're gonna have to schedule another meeting.
Can we do it in like this section, like an open discussion section?
I think it's better as a work session.
Separate?
Well, and I think the reason why we didn't do that before was because we were worried that it was going to go too long and that it was
Okay.
going to cause a regular meeting to go for too long, which
Okay.
is why we're trying to get it in a work session. That way there is some kind of either time limit before a meeting, or if you want to have a separate work session outside of a regular meeting date, then you can do that too.
Okay. How does the board feel about another Monday? So maybe is the 2nd too soon, Lucy, to get, I know we had a couple outside folks who we wanted to be involved. So is the 2nd of February, which is a Monday, too soon? And do you want to push it later into February? Do you have a recommendation?
I would probably recommend pushing it later. We do want to invite Dark Sky Colorado people, but we also want to make sure that the community is notified,
Yeah.
since we've had a lot of public comment on this topic, and giving the community ample time to prepare if
Yeah.
they would like to attend.
Yeah. The 16th is President's Day, so that could be not great for people. So then we have meetings on the 9th and the 23rd, or do we want to put it to March 2nd, which would be a non-meeting Monday, and we could reserve an hour. It's fine. I'm seeing nodding.
March
Not
2nd.
March 2nd. Non-meeting Monday. Okay, I'm seeing thumbs up for March 2nd for a work session.
Yeah, I can do that.
Sarah and Lucy.
Then
Okay.
I'll be out of town.
Okay.
Does that
Um,
work for you, Jim?
Well, I can zoom in.
Oh, you can zoom in,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, but I'll be out of town.
Are you sure?
I'm taking my.
Are you sure? We could just push it to the next.
Because you can say another time would be better.
Well, I don't want
No,
to
but Jim,
rip off everybody.
you really care about this issue. Like, you should be here and be able to give your.
Well, gosh darn it, let's postpone it till June.
That's not what I'm
well,
saying.
let's,
Well, that's what I heard.
but let me ask a procedural question. I mean, can't we have a work session after a regular meeting? Like, the timing is a little bit more unpredictable, but Melina and I could work together to craft the agenda to,
Yes.
or we could give it an hour and start at 4:30 before.
What if you schedule it for 4:30 before a regular meeting and then cut yourself off at an hour?
But then that's tough for the community. Just
4:30 is hard.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, all right, let me put it this way. What if we did like a 7 o'clock? I mean, we used to have our meeting start at 7.
Yeah.
What if we did a 7 o'clock on the 23rd? 7 to 8. It's late in the evening, people come. We can make sure that agenda is,
A shorter agenda. Yeah.
February 23rd.
So a regular meeting and then work session from 7 to
7 to 8. What do you, thoughts? Lucy, what do you think about that idea?
Yeah, I think that that's fine.
Okay, all right. So the proposal is work session on February the 23rd from 7 to 8.
All right. That sounds
And
good.
if-
We will organize that.
Great. If you have trouble with whoever's supposed to present or attend, then maybe just correspond with all of us by email. Good luck with that.
Will do.
Okay, open discussion. Okay, I had a couple things on my list. So onboarding Elizabeth, I just want to give everybody an update. So Elizabeth's start date is going to be, our new town administrator, her start date's going to be February 17th, so the day after President's Day. We negotiated that and that worked well for work. And just kind of for your guys' radar, I think Melina and I are gonna meet and kind of think about what the top priorities are. I reached out to Patrick Rondinelli with DOLA so that he could give her kind of the DOLA overview of municipal governance as we kind of get her up to speed on municipal governments. Region 9, Laura Lewis Marchino reached out with Region 9 to kind of introduce her to the Region 9 board. I'm going to the Region 9 meeting on Thursday in Durango, and we'll, give an update to that board that she's been hired. And then Laura's going to connect with her on getting connected to Region 9 and the different administrators and work groups that they have. I asked Clayton if he could do a legal overview. And so I asked Clayton if he could come to be in person for the February 23rd meeting. So then he could kind of be in person with Elizabeth on that Monday and do any sort of, legal overview or just check in with her. So Clayton would be here in person on the 23rd. I think Clayton, you can get back to me on if that works, but that's my recommendation is for Clayton to come for that first public meeting that Elizabeth will be administrating. Let me look at the rest of my list. And then my request to the board, and I'm also going to kind of make this request to the staff department, is if you could kind of think through what are the top priorities from your perspective for the town, for the administrator in the next 3 months, 6 months, and a year. So that was my thought for the board and for the department heads. If you kind of talk to your team, I think that would give Elizabeth kind of a really interesting perspective as she comes in of kind of what's top on people's mind, what are their current priorities, and what do they think is coming down the line. So if the board wouldn't mind sending each of yours to Melina, that would be great. Or does anybody have any other ideas or suggestions on onboarding? You can send 5 if you really want, but. Those suggestions on onboarding, I know it's a little bit different than when Gloria started, so I wanted to use the collective brain of this group on other things that you'd like to put on Elizabeth's radar and Melina and my radar for onboarding. Or think about it.
No, I think that makes sense. I was just thinking through because we have the trustee priorities doc.
Oh,
Can
yes.
be used to base the priorities off of.
Which we have that's on the wall downstairs.
Yeah, which I figured it doesn't seem too crazy of an ask.
Let me add here. This is just off the top of my head of what I'd scheduled, but what I was gonna chat with Melina about is making sure we go over town systems and processes. Going through the priority project list that everybody has, the capital improvements list, the trustee goals and the master plan. Those would be core components, I think, of an onboarding piece. And then Patrick's going to provide kind of the DOLA handbook, and then Clayton's going to provide the legal perspective. And then we could add on kind of the top priorities from each department. So anything else the board, and then we are facing a situation where we will have an election in April. This board could look different. And so then I would think we would set a time to do trustee goals again and, do a retreat shortly after that. But I think it'd still be super helpful for this seated board to provide your own input. On what you think the priorities are.
You just said all the docs, right? You didn't have anything else in there.
I said all the documents. Yeah. Yeah, so other thoughts. Again, if you have other thoughts, I would say send them to Melina. You can copy me if you want. Well, don't copy me. I don't know. Send them to Melina. That's safer. If you have other thoughts about things Elizabeth should be on Elizabeth's radar, send them to Melina. But at the very least, please send what you think the top priorities are from your perspective. At least 3 months, 6 months, and a year. But if you don't want to do those timeframes, then that's fine. Other thoughts on it? Onboarding Elizabeth. Okay, Clayton, I did have two things for you and for kind of not super board discussion, but two things for you. I asked, and just so the board knows, I asked Clayton if he could provide us an update on the special improvement district. So Clayton's working on a memo for that for, I think, the February 9th meeting. And then just a request that Clayton, you can be available to Mr. Diener and the Butler Snow attorneys as they're working out on next steps. So just kind of update for the board that process continues, and Clayton will give us an update on it at the February meeting. And yeah, Clay, anything else you wanted to add there?
No, ma'am.
Great, thank you. And then a while back, we'd had on our agenda the groomer purchase. And so I just wanted to flag this again for your to-do list, Clayton, that you're working with the bank. And then I think we're gonna need a memo at the next meeting for whatever final decision-making we need, so we can move forward. I know it's been a while with bank financing and the groomer. So that is just giving the board an update that that's also on Clayton's plate in whatever we need with the bank. And then whatever we need to come back to the board, that I want to make it a priority at the February meeting so we can move forward with financing. Questions from the board, or Clayton, questions from you on that piece?
No, the bank has everything they need, and they've actually had everything they needed. The issue was a taxation issue. And so based on our status and the fact that it would cost a lot more money to get bond counsel to reduce our rate from a non-tax or from taxable to a non-taxable rate, which is 2%, was astronomical in comparison to actually just paying the 2% taxable rate. And so that is why we're having to kind of go back and reorganize the loan. And I'll give you a little bit more detail on the upcoming meeting.
Okay, perfect, great. Yeah, want to make sure that we don't lose the opportunity on this groomer so that we can move forward at the next February meeting. If there's.
They know we want to buy it, and they want to sell it.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
so
Great.
I think we're good.
Great. Okay, that was my list. Sorry, I'm doing my best over here, guys. Anything else for open discussion, future agenda items? Ron, you had a great list last week. I had a good list this week. Anybody, any more lists?
Just a little plug, tomorrow evening at the school, there's a school board workshop about future planning and ideas for kind of the long-term future of the school district, and that's open to the public if anybody's interested in attending. 5 to 6:30 tomorrow.
Thanks, Carl. I can't come, but I always say the future of this town is very tied to the future of the school. You don't have a town without great school, so great chance to be involved on that discussion. Snowscape is this weekend.
Yeah.
Exciting. Yeah. Come on out.
What is it? Hula, right? Feels a little bit.
Sorry.
Well, a little on the nose with that one.
Yeah, great. Okay. Anything else? Any other announcements?
Again, I'll be here in the office until 5 for petitions, questions. I am currently not a notary. My state license is telling me that I'm not a notary and that I can't renew it. So if you need to get your petition notarized, please go to the county or the bank and they can help you.
Thanks. Good to know, Melina. Thank you. Yep. Okay. So we are postponing both executive sessions to the next meeting for clarification on the CRS reference. So we'll move on to, I don't know what the order number is right now, but it will be public comment. Do we have any in-person public comment? Thanks, Sarah, for hanging with us. Do we have any Zoom public comment? Again, if you'd like to make a comment on Zoom, click the raise hand button and we will promote you to panelist. Okay, seeing none, I will close public comment and I'll adjourn the meeting. The time is 6:41 p.m.